Hi, everybody. You are listening to Chatting Up the Irish with May. Tonight I'm speaking to a very old friend of mine. He's from County Roscommon in the northwest. His name is Mossy Martin. He's a traditional Irish fiddle player. He also teaches and he's a recording artist. Hang around for about 30 minutes. We're going to have a great chat with Mossy. Mossy, it is great to have you here in Chatting Up the Irish. Thanks be to God, we got to meet each other again after so many years. How are you?
I'm very well, May. Very well, considering all.
Considering all, yeah.
That's going on, I'm as well as can be expected. Look, I'm healthy, and playing a bit of music still, and
Brilliant. I want to tell our audience, anyone that's listening to us, Mossy, I've known Mossy for many, many years. He used to play with my son. He plays the fiddle. He's a traditional musician. He is a recording artist. He'll tell you all about his recordings later on. He is from Roscommon. I lived about 4 miles from where Mossy comes from before I moved over to America. And he is a teacher. He has so many things, but we'll talk about where you're from first of all, Mossy, and you're living in Sligo. You're from Roscommon, but you teach at a school in Drumshanbo. But first of all, tell me about your traditional music and how that came about, and who taught you, what were your influences and everything.
Yeah, well, it started like lots of Irish people with the tin whistle in school, and then going to a local teacher called Bernie Flaherty from Boyle.
Oh,
And he used to teach in Ballyfarnan Hall on a Tuesday night, and so that's where it all began for me. And I just enjoyed it and kept it up, And then I went to Paddy Ryan for a few years and got a lot of music off Paddy, fiddle player from near Ballinagar and County Roscommon. And then I progressed onto the fiddle from the tin whistle. My dad showed me the basics, and we had Matt Cranich's book, the Irish Fiddle book, in the house. And then I went to a teacher from County Longford called Seamus Thompson.
Yeah.
And Seamus had a great grounding in classical music. He had great technique,
Mm-hmm.
Seamus could play anything from Eastern European music to Irish and American and English folk music. So he gave me a great technique on the fiddle, to kind of a good foundation,
It's amazing. I know all these people.
You do, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still going strong. And Bernie Flaherty's still teaching away. And Paddy, as you know, is retired now, but he still does his radio program on Shannonside FM. And I was fortunate to grow up with the music. Lots of encouragement at home. And my dad was great at bringing me to flas and festivals and sessions and summer schools. And
sure, many's the time I met your father. You used to play with my son, Donal.
That's right.
And we'd meet. Your father would bring you to those gigs, and I'd be bringing Donal to the gigs. So that's a long, long time ago, Mossy.
Well, the very first time I met you, May, was in Gurteen in your own house. You had invited a group of young musicians just as a kind of a get to know you get together, and I can't remember how we even heard about it, but we ended up in your house anyway, and I met Donal and Seamus for the first time there. And we had a great few tunes, and then of course we bumped into each other at Sligo Flas and Roscommon Flas and Leitrim Flas down through the years, and so
it's amazing.
With good old times, and they were the days before mobile phones and the internet and everything.
Yeah,
we didn't have a screen at home. We'd no television even.
It's amazing, Mossy, because I remember my kids were playing music, and you know yourself, you'd go to these feshes and flas and you'd meet other children, but they didn't have the same tunes. So my idea was, why not get a whole pile of kids together from surrounding areas and let them swap tunes and let them get to know each other. And that ended up being quite a good session. Every 2 weeks we ended up having a lot of kids come to that session.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a memory now. I forgot about that actually.
Fair play.
So you're teaching now, Masa. You teach you teach all instruments, or do you just teach the fiddle?
Well, I could show you the notes where they are on all the instruments, but I don't play them all,
Okay.
you know. And I teach now on a course in Drumshanbo. It's a what they call a PLC course, which means post leaving certificate. It's a for mature students, for
Yes.
adults,
Yeah.
and it's a brilliant course because there's not many like it in the country.
Mhm.
And students come on the course to learn and to enjoy traditional Irish music for at least 1 year. Some people do it for 2 years.
Mhm.
And the idea of it grew out of the famous Joe Mooney Summer School in Drumshanbo,
Yeah.
which is running over 30 years, I think, now. But the organizers in Drumshanbo, you know, they thought the week of the summer school is the best week of the year every year in Drumshanbo.
Yeah.
And they thought, why can't we do something all year round? So that's how the course was kind of born in 1997.
And it's
And
part of you. You're a kind of a sister course to the sound engineering. I took the sound engineering course for 2 years with
that's
Liam
right.
Cunningham. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And I've been teaching on the music course since 2006.
Yeah.
And so I love North Connacht, and I love that
Yeah.
phrase North Connacht. You know, I'm a
Yeah. I do
Roscommon
too. Yeah.
man, and I work in County Leitrim and play music in County Leitrim, and we live in Sligo, and I play music in Sligo as well. You know, I play with the Dartry Cayley band.
I was going to ask you, that was going to be one of my questions about the Cayley band and the Dartry. The Dartry did very well. For anyone who doesn't know about the competitions and the traditional music competitions in Ireland, we have a thing called FLAS, and the All Ireland FLA is the biggest competition of the year. So what happens is you compete in your own local area, and you get through two people or two bands. There's usually 10 people in a band, am I right, Mossy?
That's right.
And you compete, and two people go as far out of the county. There's all the counties, and of course you're competing in America and England and France, and now I think Tokyo as well, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And the they go on to the regional finals, the provincial finals, and they have to beat all the people from the different counties in that province. So two people get out of there, or two bands, and then you go to the All Ireland. Now the All Ireland is where you are competing against two of every province, plus people from England, France, America, and Japan at this
That's
stage.
right.
And you really have to be really top notch. If you win the All Ireland FLA, you are the one of the regarded as one of the top musicians. But Mossy was in a Cayley band, and that is where 10 people, different instruments, play. And the Dartry win the All Ireland?
We were formed in 2007, May, and Philip Duffy and Sean Carroll and Michael Rooney and June McCormack,
Great
they
musician.
were the kind of nucleus of the band, and they kind of formed us. And you know, they brought on board Kevin Breheny on the keyboards and Damien McGuinness on the drums and Noel Carroll and on the flute and John Kilkenny and Declan Folan and myself on fiddles. I think that's the 10 of us that competed. So then the following year, 2008, we competed for the first time and we came second.
Very good.
We came second in the All Ireland, and the other band that won was another Sligo band, the Innisfree Cayley band,
Yes. Yeah.
and they had been playing for years and years in the Cayley band competition, trying to win it, and they finally did. And it's a most unusual thing for two Cayley bands to come from the same county and get through the provincial FLA and
And
be
then you,
placed in the All Ireland final.
And
So
it's
the
actually
following
it's
year,
it's actually unusual for a band like yours that was only together for a short while, really, to get second. That was a massive, um,
it
you
was it
know,
was a good, it was a great achievement.
oh, it was a
It
massive
was.
achievement. Yeah.
And we weren't happy with that, so we went back the next year in 2009, and we won it.
Yes, I knew you had won it.
And 2010, then we released our first CD called The Calavel Post. And then 2014, we released our second CD called Making Tracks. And there is a website somewhere called dartrykellyBand.com. And,
Spell it for people who are listening.
so Dartry is Dartry, and Cayley is Ceili, and Band, Band. And we're actually called after the range of mountains that's in North Sligo and North Leitrim.
Yes.
Ben Bulben is part of the Dartry range of mountains.
That's behind me there. The Ben Bulben, that's part of Ben Bulben.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're still together, and in normal years we play several Cayleys and concerts every year. Not a huge amount of stuff, and we don't do much touring or anything. We all have jobs and we all have families and all the rest of it. So, but we still enjoy playing together, and we're still together. What is it? 13 years later,
Yeah, so. That's amazing. Is the Innisfree still together? What's happening with them?
They do play an odd time now and again. Yeah, absolutely. I see them advertised now and then.
Yeah, I haven't seen, I mean, I haven't been able to go home since 2019, but I'd know an awful lot of the members of those bands. Like I watched Declan Follen grow up, June McCormick, great flute player, her husband, great harpist. I mean, you really had the cream of the crop in the band,
Oh, we were very fortunate.
Yeah.
Very fortunate, yeah.
So you still teach, well, of course, with COVID now, probably isn't happening, or will it happen this year, the summer school, the Joe Mooney Summer School in Drumshanbo in County Leitrim?
Yeah, I usually teach that every summer, and it's not happening this summer.
No.
So that'll be 2 years that it hasn't happened. So fingers crossed for the next year,
I used to teach there. I taught there for about 7 years.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great week.
It's a great week. Yeah.
And it's a nice size of a town to host something like that, and it has some nice pubs in it, and you can get in of an afternoon. You can have a lovely tune in the afternoon, a bit more relaxed than that. The pubs they get packed out at night,
Yeah, but usually in the summertime you have decent weather and you can go out, and the sessions on the streets are the best.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
and there's
go on.
I was just going to say there's hundreds of people from all over the country and further afield that come to it.
Yeah.
And there'll be at least 10 fiddle classes, and there might be 15 or so in each class,
Yeah.
And the same for tin whistles and flutes, and there'll be instrumental classes in all the instruments.
Yeah. And then you have the set dancing and you have the singing as well. So
that's right.
It covers it all. So, Marty, tell us about your own recordings.
Well, the most recent one is a kind of a semi-solo recording that I released in 2019.
Yeah.
And it's something that I had in the back of my mind for years. A bit of a homage to North Connacht and a bit of a homage to home, and I called it the Humours of Derrynacoosin.
Yeah.
And there's lots of tunes that are called the humours of something. There's the humours of whiskey, the humours of Ennistymon, the humours of Mallow, and so on and so forth. So Derrynacoosin is the townland where I grew up, and it's about a couple of miles outside of the village of Keedew. Very close to where Thurlock O'Carolan, the blind harper, is buried.
Yeah.
And I enlisted the help of the wonderful John Blake to make the recording.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know John Blake, he's one of the best in the business. He's a fantastic accompanist on guitar and piano.
Yeah.
He's a great flute player, and he's also a very good sound engineer.
Is he?
So
I
he,
didn't know that about him now.
yeah, so he came to the house I grew up in, where my father still lives, in the middle of nowhere in this townland called Derrynacusin, and he set up the mics and the computer and everything on the kitchen table,
Brilliant.
and we recorded over a few days, and it was all as relaxed as possible and all done kind of live, like
Mm.
this group tracks with my family.
Oh, great.
My sister plays the harp, my sister Anya, and my brother Brendan plays fiddle and banjo,
Yeah.
and my father plays the harmonica.
Yeah.
So they all kind of feature on different tracks. So it's a kind of a semi-solo affair. It's not exactly a solo album,
Yeah, but it's
and
nice to have the family.
oh, it's brilliant,
It is. It's
absolutely
nice to
brilliant.
have the family. That'll be nice to your kids now uh, to be able to hear that. That's something great to be able to hand down.
It was a lovely project to do. We really
Yeah.
enjoyed it,
So would you
and I
be
was
decide where are you on the road? Let's say from Ballyfernan. Are you near Kilronan Castle?
very close to Kilronan Castle. Yeah,
Talk a
we
little
used
bit
to.
about Kilronan Castle and the area. It's a
We,
beautiful area for any tourist who wants
well,
to go there.
well, there's a lake there called Loch Mila,
Hmm.
and on the shores of Loch Mila is the ruins of an abbey that dates back to the 13th century, Kilronan Abbey.
Yeah.
And inside the ruins of the abbey is the family vault of the McDermott Rowe family, who were the big landowners in the big house in Alderford House in Ballyfarnan, which
Yes.
is the next village up the road. And that's where Turlough Carolan, the blind harper, uh, who died in 1738, that's where he's laid to rest.
Yeah.
And that's so that's you've got that beautiful graveyard and ruins of the Kilronan Abbey, and then just up the road there was the ruins of a big house. We used to play in the ruins as kids. We used to cycle up there and throw stones and do things that young boys do.
Yeah.
And since I think it's about 10 years old now, Kilronan Castle, it was renovated, and it's a lovely big hotel, and has big function rooms, and it's a great attraction to the area now.
It is.
And
It
there's
is a
lovely
great.
walking trails
Yeah.
around the lake now that have been developed. So it's very picturesque. It's
Yeah,
on the
they're doing
shores of
that a
Loch
lot
Mead.
of places, Mossy. They're making the walking trails now, and it's really a great idea for hikers. And then, of course, if you go to um, Ballyfarnan itself, and you take that narrow road up the mountain, the views from up there at the top is absolutely fantastic.
It is, yeah.
On
The
your way,
Riggan
if you went
Mountain,
to the Erigna Mines,
yeah,
both sides of the hill is absolutely fantastic.
yeah. And it's not it's a very unspoilt area,
Yes,
and it's kind of off the beaten track,
yeah.
but it's well worth
That's what I like to do with the tours. Yeah, that's what I like to do with the tours, Mossy. I like to bring people to places like that off the beaten track. They
right.
wouldn't be known by the big tour companies, um,
Yeah,
and people would probably never find these places on their own. But there's some amazing, amazing places. North Connaught and the Northwest in general are absolutely, they really are. It's like heaven.
it is.
There's so
It
many
is.
beautiful, beautiful places, and then it's rich in culture. It's rich with ancient sites. It has
That's
everything
right.
really.
Yeah,
So,
there's
do you
loads of stones and
Turlough O'Carlin? You mentioned Turlough O'Carlin. I'm going to ask you to do something. You're probably going to kill me now. Off the top of your head, can you remember any of O'Carlin's pieces?
of
Or would you
course,
prefer would you
yeah.
prefer to play a reel or a jig?
No, I love Carolyn music and I love playing it. And I'm going to play a tune called Mr. O'Connor.
Okay, perfect.
And I recorded this tune with my sister. She plays the harp, so it's on my album, The Humours of Derrynacusin.
Perfect.
And so it goes a bit like this. This is Mr. O'Connor, composed by Turlough Carolan.
Lovely stuff. Oh, lovely stuff, Mossy. So,
Thank you.
um, recently I found out about the Shed Distillery in Drumshanbo. Do you know anything about it? How is it doing?
I do, of course. Yeah, I've been there several times, and there's a man called PJ Rigney is behind the whole operation, and it was him that established the distillery, and he is an expert mixer and taster and of all things spirits, so
Yeah,
whiskies and gins.
yeah, because I want
And
to
so,
include that on tours as well, and I want to it's just, you talk about
well,
Jameson and you talk about all these well-known distilleries, and they're fantastic, but I'd love to be able to bring people to the Shed Distillery as well.
yeah. Well, they've just completed a brilliant visitor centre
Oh, have
where
they?
they will
Brilliant.
where they will bring you through the distillery, a guided tour through the distillery, and you can see the big copper stills, and you can smell the hops and the barley,
Yeah.
and you can taste the whiskies and the gin. I suppose the Drumshanbo gunpowder gin is their most famous
Mm-hmm.
product,
Yeah.
and they have a lovely cafe there and shop as well. So it's well
Great.
worth a visit, and they're
Yeah.
well set up for tours of any amount.
Yeah. And the Erigna Mines is another place that I like to bring people as well. It's a great place.
It is, and they've a lovely visitor centre there too,
Yeah.
and they bring you down the mine with people that used to work there,
Yes.
so they bring it alive for you.
And the people that work there, they're so knowledgeable about it, and it's way better than having somebody just rhyme off something, because these people can tell you personal stories about when they did work there.
That's right.
And then, of
Yeah,
course, the
absolutely.
scenery from the place is absolutely amazing as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
stunning, overlooking Loch Allen.
Loch Allen is a fantastic place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Shed Distillery. I wonder how is that distillery doing, Hazelwood. Is there anything going on there at the moment? I know that they were turning Hazelwood House into a distillery.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you now where that's at. I don't think it's open now yet.
Probably not. I remember going to see it at one stage to see if anything had happened with it, and at that
Yeah,
stage they hadn't. But there's
yeah,
so
yeah.
much to do in the area, Massey, isn't there? So many places to visit.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah,
if you have any interest in history or folklore or that or folk music, it's
yeah.
a great part of the country to visit. Absolutely.
So if somebody wanted to contact you about buying your CDs, what would they do? Where would they contact? What's your contact?
MossieMartin.com.
MOSSIE.
That's my name. MossieMartin.com.
Com. It's well worth it, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone that's listening. He has a fantastic regional style. He has a fantastic way. His musical brain, you can see it working as you're hearing his tunes, and the way the settings on his tunes are lovely. So for any of the musicians over here in America who would like to learn some of the Leitrim music and the Roscommon music and Sligo music, it's well worth your while to have a look at Mossy's website and order his CDs. And it's a family thing,
Family affair. Thank you,
family
May.
affair, Mossy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I totally enjoyed chatting with you, and thanks very much for the tune. Will you play us out a couple of reels?
Of course I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'll tell you
for
what.
anyone who is, I will let Mossy finish us out, but I want to thank people for watching Chatting Up the Irish. Thanks very much, Mossy, for joining Chatting Up the Irish, and for we will have this program on our Facebook page, Secret Ireland Tours. We're sponsored by Secret Ireland Tours, and we will have it on all our social media sites, our YouTube, MeWe, Facebook, every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, US Eastern Time. But of course, you'll be able to see it and check it up the next day or the next week or whatever. But if you want to check out any of our tours, we're not doing anything until at least the last quarter maybe of this year. But there's always next year. You could check out some of the tours and we will bring you to places. Like we might even meet up with Mossy and he might play a few tunes for us sometime.
Love that.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic, Mossy. So Secret Ireland Tours, LLC.com, and contact us. And if you see this on your Facebook, please like and share it. Please feel free to put comments down. And if you have any questions to ask either Mossy or myself about Ireland, please feel free to do so and we'll do our very best to answer them. So Mossy's going to finish off the programme with, what do you play?
With a reel composed by a Donegal man called Neely Boyle. And he composed this tune in the 1940s and he called it The Moving Clouds.
Oh, I love The Moving Clouds, yeah.
And it's on the CD as well. So here we go.
Thank you, Mossy.
Thanks very much, May. And Happy New Year.
And to you too. Great stuff, Mossy. Thanks very much.